We're at the top of the hour here. John, you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Let's do it. Thank you, Bridget. Appreciate it. And welcome everybody to our hybrid Zoom training, which began as a training here for 5950. And as more people were involved and we partnered with some groups down with a club in 5960, and then word got out, and so we have people from all around the country. So welcome this evening. We're thrilled to have you with us, both in the room with members and as well as on Zoom. And so we're going to make this a great evening. To kick this off, we've got a special message from our District Governor, Tom Gump.
Hello, my name is Tom Gump, and I'm the District Governor for Rotary International for District 5950. We are so excited to have each and every one of you here with us tonight for this exciting hybrid training session. We have people from not only Minnesota in our district, but we have people from Texas, and we have people from all around the world. There are so many people we have to thank for this event, but first I want to tell you how important it is. I was on a webinar the other day, a Zoom meeting, and the chief strategist for Rotary International was saying how important hybrid meetings are and that they're the wave of the future from the Rotary International board down to the club level. And that's why we are focusing on this very important endeavor tonight. I'd like to thank our trainers for the night, John Crudelli, who spearheaded this operation, along with Lloyd Campbell, our DGN and membership chair, Bridget Holstrom, who is going to be the membership director of the Rotary Club of Edina and helping with the training tonight, Terry Lowe, who's in person with you tonight at Shields, and Julie Grape, who's our district trainer. There's also a great group of panelists who will be introduced later. Thank you so much for all you do for Rotary, and thank you for being here.
I want to thank Tom Gump for being able to share a message. He wasn't able to be in the room tonight and wanted to be with us. Also, thank you to Shields, which is where we're located in person. They have 28 locations around the country. This is their Eden Prairie Center. They have a wonderful conference facility here, which we are using tonight. They've been very, very gracious with us, and their values really match up with Rotary. Interestingly, they were founded in 1902, Rotary in 1905, and service and philanthropic aspect of their company really matches up. So it's wonderful to be able to be here. So thank you to Shields and for everybody behind the scenes. Your trainers tonight, you've got myself, John Crudelli. Bridget has been introduced. Also, she is a certified trainer with Dale Carnegie, and so you'll be seeing that flowing through in her training style. Terry Lowe is in the room with me. He is a technologist as well, past president of Bloomington Noon, but heads up technology for their club, and he also did district technology at another district that he was involved with prior to moving here. And of course, you heard Julie Grapes is behind the scenes on Zoom as well. So thank you for the trainers. And what do we have for an agenda tonight, Bridget?
Thanks, John. We're excited to be here. And the reason why John and I have decided to partner up on this is the last 3 weeks we have been attending hybrid meetings that have been held in our district. And we wanted to be able to share some of those best practices that we've learned as we've attended both in person and in Zoom. And so tonight we're going to learn what a hybrid meeting is for those of you who aren't familiar. And for those of you who are, we might talk about some of the reasons why it might be something more exciting to adopt. And then also how to actually perform a hybrid meeting, the technical requirements behind it. And then we'll be providing some resources at the end so that you can tap into and dive a little bit deeper to jumpstart your own hybrid meeting. And then we're going to hear from a panel of presenters from different clubs who've adopted the hybrid approach and learn about their best practices. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for Q&A. And at that time, the people on Zoom, we're going to ask that you put your questions in the chat. And then Julie, who is joining us as well, will make sure that we get those questions answered, whether it's tonight's session or if we don't get to your question, we will have a follow-up email as well. So before we get started, let's go ahead and Julie, if you would, let's hear from the room, and we're going to do a poll on Zoom to learn a little bit about our audience. So Julie, if you would go ahead and launch the poll, and then there's 3 questions that we'll be asking. And if you can go ahead and quickly answer those 3 questions and press submit, then Julie will walk through the answers with us.
We'll give everybody a few seconds here. Looks like about 80 people have voted so far.
I'm pushing submit and nothing's happening.
Uh-oh, sorry about that.
It's just 2 questions, correct?
It's
3.
there's you gotta scroll down to see the third one.
Okay, that's my problem.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, I am going to go ahead and end the poll now. And I will share the results with the group. I hope everybody can see them. So it looks like we've got 30% of the people from mid-sized clubs, 21 to 35. 49% are 51 and over. And then we've got 7 and 10% at 11 to 20 and 36 to 50. Oh, great. 96% have been hosting meetings via Zoom. That's excellent. And 63% of the people on the phone have not yet conducted a hybrid meeting, which makes sense because this is hybrid training. So thank you all for doing that. We just wanted to show you how a poll works. And also, I am modeling the fact that I have a computer so old that it will not take virtual background. So I apologize for not having a nice virtual background screen like your other trainers. And now that we've had this helpful information to guide us through the training tonight, Bridget, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Julie. And this information is helpful so that our goal tonight is to inspire, train, and model what a hybrid meeting is like. And so this will help us cater to your needs as well. And so I'm going to go back to our presentation here. And let's just start out with what a hybrid meeting is. And so for some of you, maybe you're already familiar, but for those of you that aren't, let's just talk about the basics. So in its purest form, a hybrid meeting is a club meeting that's held both in person and via Zoom in real time. And really the goal or the why behind it is, and the benefit of it is to honor and support our members both in person and on Zoom. So right now with the pandemic, there may be some members that feel more safe at home, and Zoom is a great platform to be able to have those members engaged in the meetings. And then also for those of you that might have the itch to get back in person, it also supports those members as well. And as we all know, if our members are engaged, we're more likely to retain them. And so that's just an added side benefit to hybrid meetings. And then lastly, it can be a very interactive experience for people both in Zoom and in the room. And so with that, John, if you want to share a little bit about what happens in the room, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. In the room, what is happening here is that we have a live presentation. The reason I'm using, excuse me, the microphone is because we have a speaker set up here for the group that's here. And the Zoomers are actually being seen up on the large screen, and we have that in gallery view so that we can see each of you that way too. And so we get to participate, and everything is run through a mixer so that the sounds connect completely. Something that happens, we have announcements and the speakers at the podium. I'm actually now using a handheld mic, but I could be using my laptop mic if I wanted to and look directly into what would be the laptop camera. So it's equipment that we're already using. All agenda items can involve both groups for greater engagement. I've been to probably 8 hybrid meetings now in the last couple of weeks, and the agenda items, the announcements, everything is shared between on Zoom, people in the room. Sometimes they are on committees together and they go back and forth as far as co-chairs. One's on Zoom, one's in the room, and it makes it very interactive and seamless even as they're going through their PowerPoint. It does require someone to set up and oversee the laptops, and if we have a webcam or video camera, which we do here tonight, which allows you to see the people in the room for those on Zoom to watch. It's a new group of volunteers now that get to be engaged. We've got basically 2 laptops in the room tonight and a webcam, which is actually a cell phone. And then we're using our host computer is Bridget, and Julie has hers going as well. So that's how we're doing it this evening, but typically 2 or 3 computers and a webcam. Thanks. Let's see what's next.
Yeah.
Here's some pictures of some
And then
examples. So this is Bloomington, and their president, Mark, is at the podium. He's looking right at the screen. He sees Steve giving some happy dollars there at the Hilton there, and so they're back to hybrid meetings. Next slide. It's a picture of Terry, who's with us tonight here, and there's the technologist for the Bloomington Club. He's actually doing a profile view of the speaker that's there. You can see that on the screen behind them, which isn't as important for those in the room, but that's how you'd view it on Zoom if this was taking place in the room for those that are watching on Zoom. And this is down at the Prior Lake Club, and their Fine Master and the Happy Fives, Happy Dollars is taking place, and he's talking, looking at the people, and you can see if you go over 4 and down 4, you see the lit up box. That person raised their hand and said, I want to give some money and tell a story. And so there's an interaction because it's on gallery view. Everybody in the room is able to see everyone that way. Go ahead. So now on Zoom, what happens? Bridget?
Yeah, and so on Zoom, it's a little bit different. It does require your club to have a Zoom account. And the good news is Rotary has a 20% discount. It's on the district website. It's available there, or if you just put it in Google and say Rotary Zoom discount, it will allow you to have up to 100 participants. If you're a participant joining on Zoom, you'll need a computer, a laptop, or a phone to participate. And as John had mentioned, it can be very interactive to hear the people on the podium in real time via Zoom and in the meeting. And then also those interactions, whether it's Happy Bucks or the pledge and 4-way test, which we're going to actually model right now. And so Josh Sprague has agreed to do the Pledge of Allegiance over Zoom. So Josh, if you would go ahead and take yourself off mute, and Terry, if you would go ahead and spotlight Josh Sprague.
Thanks and welcome everybody. So I'm going to put my hand over my heart and let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America
and
to the republic
for
which it stands,
one nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Lloyd in person is going to do the inspiration as well as the 4-way test. Take it away, Lloyd.
Well, fantastic. The first thing I'd like to start with is the 4-way test. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendship? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Now, I was also asked to do the inspiration, and they also told me one thing, to be brief. I can't believe they would ask me and then say be brief too. So that's a little difficult. But things I want to talk about is my inspiration is Rotary and the things we do, and the 4-way test. It's probably the most important thing to me as far as being a Rotarian. I like to give a quote from the late Congressman John Lewis. And when he said, when you see something that is not right, not just, you have to speak up and you have to say something. You have to do something. And that's an inspiration to me simply because of what's going on here in our city. We're our district is in the heart of the things that's going on that's changing the world right now. And because of Rotary, we are actually doing something. I'm proud of the leadership that this district has shown with Russ Mickelett providing us funds, with Tom Gump and his wife actually putting together a program where we are actually taking action to make a difference. I have a longer speech, but I only have 2 minutes to say this. So thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you, Lloyd. And they're applauding here in the room and possibly online too. But we have hand sanitizer up here, and we had masks for the transition. And so there was just some things in protocol-wise that we were watching. So,
John, we'll go ahead and I'll turn it back to you. John's going to show us how to tack on the tech. So tonight we have a short amount of time. So this is going to be a high-level review of how your club can go hybrid. Depending on the scale of your club, he'll talk about the different sizes and what might be best fitted towards your club. And the good news is we have some resources to follow, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. But I'll turn it over to you, John.
Thank you, Bridget, so much. Thought the easiest way to do this would be to take some pictures for you, which you have here. And again, expect some PDFs and others emailed to you. So you don't have to take complete notes here, just to get a picture. For a small club, and I'd say a small club is when you don't need a microphone. And that's what's happening as far as, if you look at this, see it all right there? Picture the screen behind my laptop. That would be your big screen TV, or it would be the screen that the projector actually shows on. And then we've got powered speakers there. So the powered speakers just come out of the headphone jacks on your computer, and it allows the people in the room to hear the Zoomers. You don't need a microphone like I'm using, because everyone in the room can hear me if there's only 10, 12, or 15 people in the room. And by the way, a small club, when you start coming back, a club of 30 might have 15 in the room and 15 on Zoom. And so it could be a simple system like this, taking some existing technology and just adding some powered speakers to it, little tiny tripod, and bringing a cell phone along. Next one. This shows just quickly, as I opened up the preferences, you change it so that instead of using the computer out sound, it goes to the headphones out sound. And so it's just some Zoom preferences that you want to make sure you have checked. Tonight, I have USB sound checked for both in and out, and that's how I'm doing this in the room tonight. Next slide. Okay, for a small club, and there you go. If you want to add a lapel mic, then you just add the USB through there, and the lapel mic or a USB microphone, if you want a handheld, and that's simple to add, is a third option. It really depends on what you need and your requirements. Let's move on to some mid to large size clubs, which it looks like if we go 36 on up, 36 to 1551, we've got 59%, so 60% fit into this. So it's the same as what you just saw, plus powered speakers in the room, which we have here tonight. We've got, and typically if you're a club of this size, this is how you do it now. You have probably powered speakers in the room that you're using. You may already have a mixer that looks similar to this, or a bigger one. If you're at a restaurant or someplace, they have some form of mixer. It may be something you'd need to purchase. And the microphone, I'm using a handheld wireless, but a corded mic would fit right in there as well. A projector or a big screen TV. Again, I'm just using my monitor as an example. The mixer is the part that we get to add, and a few cables and this USB card. As you go to the next slide, you'll see as we scale this down. So there's the mixer. This is actually the one Prior Lake uses. I purchased one, and it's exactly what I'm using tonight is what you see here. And so the microphone goes into the mic jack on that far left-hand corner, and this is a mixer. It then comes out through the auxiliary, goes through that little USB port. So now everybody on Zoom hears me in real time at the same time that people in the room hear me. And then it comes out of the headphone jack, and then it's back into tracks 4 and 5 there. And that's you, the people on Zoom, your voice is now mixed with the speaker system in the room. So there's none of that 1.5 to 2 second lag time that we often get when we try to set this up with multiple devices. The sound always needs to go through one computer. The visual can come from other places. Go ahead, next slide. there's that little USB device. And so it's basically a mic in and a headphones out. And that's what allows you to hear me on the microphone and us to hear you when you speak. Next one. That's the equipment I bought. There's $100 worth of things that I purchased to help make tonight work. And so the 2 wires, the mixer, and the little sound card. And this will be in a PDF and a tech list for you. Go ahead, Bridget. Now, I haven't gotten this one to work yet, but I've been told that it can, and this is a USB, possibly somebody online. We're a team, we're Rotarians, we're people of action. There's something, I've still got a button to push here. I'm gonna just make fun of myself a little bit here, but I believe this will work, and now that one USB in and out replaces all the cords in the card. If you already have the mixer, all you need to do is buy the cords, which is what we saw in the previous system. If you're starting from scratch, kind of stay tuned as we get a little bit more details out on this. Go ahead, Bridget. Here's an example. It happens to be Joe Dawes, who's been coaching me up from the Prior Lake Club, of which one of our panelists is from tonight. And he's got all the sound coming out of the left computer. Now you can see it's on gallery view. The computer on the right is on gallery view. He's got that going out to his projector. And so what it allows him to do by adding that second computer is that everyone on Zoom can see speaker view. The people in the room do not need to see speaker view. They want to see you. So he has the projector coming out of, that's all it is. It's a silenced computer, but he can change it so that he has speaker view on the left computer. He can have gallery view on the right computer. He loves doing this stuff. This isn't like something scary. It's just something he has a blast with. And so everyone in the room gets to see it that way. And next one. So the resources, go ahead, Bridget.
Yeah, thanks, John, for that high-level overview. And as I mentioned earlier, there will also be resources that are going to be on the district website in the next couple of days, as well as an email that we send out that will have YouTube videos explaining each of those ways to connect the equipment, so you're tacking on the tech to your meeting. And then we'll also have a few handouts. One is more summary and a tip sheet. And then we also will have a more detailed document for those of you that really want to dive into the details. And also a third edition is we will be having a Rotary Tech Advisor that will be available to you, that you can call or email your questions, or they may be willing to help you get your hybrid meeting up and running for your club as well. So more to come on that. We thought a great way to learn about hybrids as well is just hearing from people who have actually done the hybrid approach in their clubs. And so John, if you want to go ahead and introduce our talented panelists.
Absolutely. We're thrilled for this part. And again, we went quickly through the tech basically to show that it's there and it's possible, and here's some pictures of it, but count on the email that's going to be following our programs tonight and in the future for more information. And with best practices, it'll continually be evolving. Tonight's panelists, we have 3 joining us this evening. Marlis Gessman is the president of Prior Lake. She has been gracious. I think I've attended 3 or 4 meetings. Everyone that's on this as a trainer has attended at least one of her meetings, their meetings via Zoom. I've been in the room working with Joe on the technology, and so we're thrilled to have her in a moment. They're going to be going for 5 minutes each. Josh Sprague is the past president of Edina Noon. We were co-presidents. We were presidents together of our clubs and buddies. We went to Pets together. We went to Hamburg together, and he really adopted technology very quickly, and we'll be sharing some of and then they've flipped now to a hybrid model as well. And so he'll be giving some information there. And then Terry Lowe is our technologist. He's in the room, and he's going to come up and share and kind of pick up on some of the pieces that might have been left off. So if we can go to Marlis first for 5 minutes, and then Josh, then we'll go to Terry. We can spotlight Marlis. Are we able to find her?
Are you ready?
There you go.
All right. All right. Thanks, John. I am very excited to be a part of your training and a part of your evening meeting. So thank you for inviting me. One of the questions that you asked us is, what have you seen, done, or discovered by doing the hybrid meeting? And so I thought about those questions as we chatted last night. And one of the things that we have done is that when we first went to Zoom in March, and then we went to the hybrid meeting, actually the first part of June. And we took that opportunity and sprung right into it and decided that we were happy to get back together, to being in a meeting room together, and also have the opportunity to have our Rotarians be a part of the Zoom too. We jumped right back into that. We started the hybrid meeting, and we were back in person. What we've seen is an amazing amount of engagement. We have seen where half of our Rotarians are still joining us by Zoom, and the other half of our Rotarians are joining us in the room. And we've also seen an uptick in our attendance, which is great because we've given them the opportunity to do something different. What we've seen is the opportunity for our Rotarians to be able to join us even when they are not in our location. So when we started back in June, we still had some of our Rotarians that were down in Florida or down in their winter homes in the South and were able to join us. We also got to be able to see people that were on vacation and they were still being able to join us via Zoom. So the other things that we discovered is that it was a constant change. And what we needed to do is make sure that we were looking at our agenda and making sure that that agenda was focused not only on those that were in the room, but the agenda was also focused on those people that were joining us via Zoom. We had to make sure that we didn't have a lot of up and down. It needed to flow. We had times where it's like our Rotarian of the day would do our invocation, then we had the Rotarian of the day come back up later, and then we had the Rotarian of the day come back again. So we wanted to make sure that we eliminated a little bit of that up and down. The other things that we discovered, and we talked about this last night, John, is that it was really had to train our people to be able to stay in the Zoom. We had our people that were a lot of the times speakers, they like to wander around the room, right? So you're having someone this, and you got some of them like this. We had to really train people to actually stay within the Zoom. And we also found that it's like, we also had people that were different shapes and sizes. So as we had people come up to the podium, you have me, which I'm very tall, but then you have people that are very short or are even taller than me, or they're very short and you see the top of their heads. So we needed to make sure, as we discovered that, is making sure that we're staying within the Zoom. That's all I got for tonight. I'll pass it off to the next person.
Hey everybody, Josh Sprague from the Rotary Club of Edina. We actually started in a recorded format in March, and then went to Zoom after that. And then towards the end, we actually did some combinations of a Zoom program with partial recorded content layered into the meeting. That's actually how we closed the year off. When the new president took over, we went to a hybrid format. So both live and the Zoom audience. And to answer one of the questions that someone put in the chat, our speakers are always at the meeting. We haven't had our speakers come in yet through the Zoom portal. That's just how we're doing it right now. We're still keeping our program live, but certainly that's one that could be experimented with. And I think, you know, there are 3 points that stick out to me making this transition. And the first is you have to be creative. There are ways to engage both audiences. John and everybody else here is giving us a lot of great ideas this evening to do that, to get people out of just being siloed, where you're just giving the live audience something and not Zoom and vice versa. We're trying to integrate both of those audiences. The way that we've done that is mixing up the meeting duties, and that has we just started working with that, bringing in an invocation from Zoom and so on. The challenge has been trying to get people booked to do those duties. Historically, people coming to the meeting live felt more of a sense of responsibility to do them. The Zoom people, I think, are a little bit more laid back. And so that has been a challenge we're working through right now. But being creative, I think, is at the heart of all this. The second thing is to be organized. I mean, if you look, John speaks very quickly, and he showed you a lot of pictures of all the technology. But let me tell you, each one of those things needs to be thought through and kind of mentally diagrammed out and then tested. The most important thing you can do and the best thing you can do for your club is just do some early beta testing and try things. And that leads me to my third point, which is be flexible. You're going to learn new things every week. Glitches. I mean, today we were broadcasting. We could not figure out the person sharing the meeting for some reason was using one type of share that blocked out where the controls were. We've never seen that before. Well, we just fooled around and we got to a different share and it disappeared. And those are things that will happen every week. You're going to get better. You got 40 or 50 meetings this year. And so I think you just have to be flexible and try and remember, they say good is the enemy of the best, but the best is the enemy of good. You can search for perfectionism in this hybrid meeting and never find it at the beginning. I think you just have to do your best and get in the game. And as the weeks go by, you learn more and more. And certainly this forum is a great resource for all of us who are trying to perfect the art of the hybrid meeting.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. And Marlis, thank you as well. And we are actually ahead of schedule. To Josh's point, we know each other quite well. I do speak quickly, and we will be getting more materials out. And in our Q&A, which will be following our next presenter with Terry as he makes his way up to the front, we can go back to any of those pictures or those slides in the PowerPoint. We can back it up if that's going to be helpful to anybody in a question. As Marlis had shared, and now as Josh and now Terry will share, as you start thinking of questions coming up, that'll be what we'll be going to here shortly. So let me bring up Terry Lowe, and he's going to use my mic. I'm going to move out of the way. And
thank you, Rotarians. So I have a background in technology, so I'm very, very comfortable with it. But we have to understand that not everybody has the same level of comfort. When we started going back as a club, Bloomington Noon Rotary, back to a hybrid format, we were very pleased to be able to have some of us at the hotel. But we understood that without the ability for people to be able to Zoom in, there would be a huge issue with making people feel inclusive. If you recall those in our district last year, there was a big, big push towards retention. And what we have found is that people who are not participating, either through online or feeling comfortable enough to come to the hotel, the degree of attrition could skyrocket. And we certainly don't need that. We aren't even clear when people will feel safe coming back. So presumably this could happen for another year. This highlights the importance of being Zoom capable in your Rotary Club. Now, what we also found, because Josh had mentioned, the feeling of inclusivity for those who are online, giving them responsibility. When we have Happy Bucks, if you have your technology set up in an appropriate way, they will be able to interact in real time, both with the in-hotel audience and those online. So generally what we do is we go around the room on the live audience first, and then we move that over to the online Zoom audience, and they are projected onto the screen. They're coming in through the overhead speakers, and so we hear them and can interact with them very, very easily. And I do like your idea, Josh, about assigning roles and responsibilities throughout so that they can't doze off or check email or do something else while the meeting is actually happening. So that's really good. One additional dynamic element that you could consider, because in the PowerPoint that you were shown, these are static devices, right? Meaning that you have a stationary laptop. But in my hand, I don't know if you can see it very well, but we have an iPhone as well. And this can act as a roving camera. Now, the beauty of that is when you're in a room, not everybody has the ability to come up to the podium because that will take some time. And if you're pressed for time, this roving camera can actually go up to each Rotarian who's doing a Happy Box or has an announcement. It just gives you additional versatility. So that's something to consider, but it will require the recruitment of additional Rotarians to help with that process. So it would be at least 2 volunteers for technology, but it does add a really interactive experience, and it makes the people who are speaking front and center without having them come to the very front of the room. Last point that I want to make is this. We have been conducting these meetings for about 3 or 4 virtual meetings, virtual and live. And we still have found that there are some Rotarians that just refuse to log on. They're not comfortable coming to the hotel for obvious reasons if they have underlying conditions, but we want to encourage them to overcome that hurdle of logging into Zoom. Maybe they have technology challenges. Maybe it's just they have a fear of it. Maybe they don't have somebody that can handhold them through that experience. One consideration that our team is thinking about is having a technology ambassador, where we want to ensure that some of our long-standing, very, very important Rotarians have the ability to either use their telephone to get in on a Zoom meeting, or a laptop, or even something as simple as an iPad. So that's something I do want to encourage all the Rotarians this evening who are participating in this online meeting to think about. Imagine if it was 25 to 30% that just haven't joined in the Rotary experience for weeks on end. We will certainly have an attrition problem. So if we could strive for, let's say, 80, 90, even 100%, we are all high-achieving, high-performing Rotarians. I think this can absolutely be done as long as we extend our hand, extend our knowledge, and extend our hearts.
Thank you, Terry. That's why I love this team. Terry, thank you so much. And when we were at his meeting last Monday, using the technology we're using in the room, we added it to theirs. And so when he went around with the iPhone on that little tripod that he had there, he was using the handheld mic that I have in my hand, or actually the one that was provided by the hotel, which happens to be wireless too. So all the devices in the room are muted. So his phone is muted, but he's using the handheld mic because there was about 20 some in the room, and the same thing on Zoom. Many people find that the attendance goes up when it's mixed and blended. And just to pick up on one other thing you said, and we'll go to questions, is that if we can proactively reach out to those members that haven't been attending, and so it's kind of those caring calls, reach outs, say, hey, I'd love to see you on Zoom, happy to show you how to do it, and schedule a time with them. I think my first week when we flipped to Zoom as president, I think I helped 8 of our older members get on, and then they fell in love with it and started doing grandchildren parties and things like that. So this is a place where we get to connect in new ways with people. So with that, let's Bridget, let's turn it over to Q&A. And Julie, I think you've been reading those, so let's find out. And we're actually we're ahead of schedule. We're doing great.
Yeah, and I think we'll open up the Q&A as well to the panelists. So if our panelists have answers to the questions, feel free to jump in as well. So go ahead, Julie, take it away.
Great. The first thing that I was wondering is, as we're doing Q&A, we got a question or a request in the chat that can somebody in the room model taking the phone around the room so we can see the different people at Shields and see how that looks to the people on Zoom.
We can go ahead and spotlight your camera. There you go. So he just spotlighted it. That's a feature that as a co-host he can do. So now he's spotlighting. He doesn't have the microphone. I still have the microphone. This is the only live mic in the room, but but if he was doing, let's say, the happy bucks, that's Frank right there. He's walking over to Sharon, who's smiling behind that mask. We learned to see happy eyes now. Looks like he's coming up to the profile shot. So here we are at look at that. So coming in now, if you were with you want to pretend to do like a happy five? You want to take how did you do that with the microphone? Okay, yeah. So if he had the mic with him, then you hear him say peace. Okay. And we're just being more careful as far as typically, we've got multiple people touching mics tonight. And so we've got hand sanitizer here. We're cleaning our hands coming up and going back. And but if you had one or two people and they're more designated to that mic, then there's less of an issue with that concern. Other questions?
Great, thank you. That was really fun. It was great to see. And whoever gave us that suggestion, thank you. Speaking of microphones, we had several questions on, do you sanitize a microphone between speakers in the COVID era?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I've got up here is I brought in my hand sanitizer. And what I've done is I've been having us clean our hands before we touch it. But before I handed it to Lloyd for inspiration, I actually put some on my hands and then I wiped it down. I think if we were to touch a mic and if we have our own hand sanitizer and then cleaned ourselves afterwards, it's just like if you were anywhere else and touched anything else. Before you touch your face or your eyes or anything else, make sure that you take that personal responsibility and be prepared for yourself. And we just take the extra steps and be kind of aware here at the podium. Marlis, you have a way around this at your club, I've seen, because you've got a lapel mic on a stand and you have people walk up to the podium. Therefore, nobody's touching the mic and they're using the camera. Why don't you speak to that?
You are correct. We actually have a microphone up at our podium that is nobody needs to touch. And so we've made it the rule that you have to have your mask on if you're moving around the room. The only time you can have your mask off is if you're sitting down and you're eating at your meal at your table, which we're all 6 feet apart. We do have a handheld microphone too, but there's generally only one person in the room that gets to hold on to that. It's our administrative person right now, and she's the one that asks our questions for the Rotarian of the day because there's 2 people talking. And in addition, if she does need to go around the room to have someone else speak into it, she does not hand it off to them. And they have their masks on.
Go ahead, Julie.
Sorry. We've had a couple of people ask about bringing music or TED Talks into the Zoom / room live in person. Can that be done? And if so, is it difficult?
So I can take that one. So if you're the host of the meeting or a co-host, you can share your screen. And there's actually 2 buttons that you have to press at the bottom of the share screen option that make sure that the sound loops in and the video loops in. And it's a pretty seamless process. Actually, if you just Google how to stream a video through Zoom, you can see a YouTube video of it as well.
Great. Okay, next question, and I think maybe this might be for the panelists or the people who do hybrid already. Some of the people on the participant list are wondering, do your meeting speakers join you via Zoom or in person? And kind of part B of that question, is your president, I love this question, is your president, the meeting leader, in the room, in person, or on Zoom?
I guess I can answer part of that question. So for me as the president, since I've been the president, I have always attended it via in person. I'm there at the meeting. Doesn't mean that I couldn't attend it via Zoom if I wanted to. It would be a very simple transition. In addition, our meeting speakers, we've had a mix. We've had some attend via Zoom and we've had some that have been in person. Both work very, very, very well.
Yeah, this is Terry at the podium. Yes, we have had similar situations in which we've had the speakers both online and in person. The president, however, has always been at the meeting. One thing I will preface, though, is if you have a speaker that is going to be giving a 20 to 30-minute presentation, you're going to want to ensure that that internet connection is strong. And therefore, if you want to test it prior to the meeting, that would be ideal. But they can run a Google speed test in order to determine whether or not they have a strong enough connectivity to ensure a consistent well-flowing presentation. Obviously technology challenges may occur, but you're just trying to mitigate that risk by testing early. And if you find that their connection speed at their home is too low, then perhaps you can make a recommendation to have it done at their office or somewhere with higher connectivity. So that's just something to be considerate of, because if it's too slow and it's choppy, then you can have a disengaged audience for about 20 to 30 minutes.
Great, thank you. I think
Josh, how about your club?
Oh, sorry.
In terms of the speakers, we're in person, presidents in person, and then we're broadcasting that program out.
Thanks.
Okay. I think we need a fun question now. How do you avoid live streaming people eating? Do you turn the mic off when people are eating meals, or the camera off?
I can tell you what the Prior Lake Club does. We actually, when we go to eating breakfast, we open it up into the room for them to socialize, and then we open it up for 10 minutes for the people that are on Zoom to socialize. So it's our 10-minute social time, so they don't sit and watch us eat.
And John and I have seen it done both ways, just going to different clubs. And I would just say, from a Zoom user or participant experience, it's a lot better when you're not hearing plates clink and so forth. So it is nice to have that dedicated time for the people on Zoom to connect and interact, as well as the people in person, and then join together when the meeting starts as well.
So if you mute the sound coming out of the room, they'd be able to watch if they wanted to, but they would not be watching full screen. It would be one of the boxes, which would be that webcam, and then have maybe the host on Zoom have a conversation or lead some questions for those 10 minutes. People have their coffee. You know the rhythm and the culture of your club. So each one happens that way.
This is Terry. Part of the culture of our club is that we eat and dine and chat with each other. So we formally start the meeting at 12:30, but I turn the Zoom on at 12:15, and I have the camera facing the entire room. So everybody can be chewing and clanking their forks and just feeling like they're all eating together. So I think that is part of the experience. But yes, when it comes to 12:30, then we ensure that we mute everybody so that we don't continue hearing them chew.
Right. Okay, here's an interesting question to the people who have had hybrid meetings, or I guess anyone. What is the critical mass to justify a hybrid meeting of in-person people to give it the vibe and engagement you need in person? The individual is saying 80% of my club's 34 members are 65 and older, so only 4 or 5 will attend in person. Is that worth doing a hybrid, or should they stay on Zoom?
It's a tough one to say for your club. You guys have to make that call, and there's financial considerations and everything else. But for the people, I mean, I don't know. I mean, one option is you can record. You want to broadcast the most exciting place to the other people. So if Zoom is where you have the energy of the meeting and not the 4 people sitting around, maybe you want to record the Zoom, have it edited, and post that for the people that can't be there on Zoom, and they can have their makeups watching the Zoom, which is a more exciting meeting than the 4 or 5 people. It's like the opposite of most of our problems right now. But that's one creative option, and it always depends on the expense and the expectations of members.
It can be also based on the size of the club. Again, we have more or larger clubs on, but there's 7% that are 11 to 20 members. So if you're used to having 7, 8, or 9 or 10 people at a meeting, and now you have 3 or 4, you get to really decide amongst yourselves whether you want to break bread together or have a meal, and then others can be on Zoom. It's all kind of relative to the culture of your club. Raj is on as well. I think I'm going to have him just speak to that. They've gone to a 3-1 meeting.
Yeah. And John, while you're doing that, people help support a world they help create, right? So perhaps you send out a survey to your members and just ask them what they would like and how they want to be engaged with. Maybe your members want to just continue on Zoom, and that's okay too. This is just an option if your members have kind of a split where they do have the desire to meet in person and virtually.
Yeah, John, I'm here. So we have been doing Zoom meetings since COVID started. We continue to do so. I think it's a matter of time before we get to hybrid. But in the meantime, people do, being Rotarians, they miss interacting with each other and seeing each other. So we thought the best idea for that is to have one meeting in a month in person, which was the 3+1 meeting. We're thinking of doing that for a while anyway. So this kind of accelerated the process. We had one meeting. Last time we cleaned up some of the parks. People got together. We kept social distance for mass, and people got to see each other. There was another meeting. We did a car parade for one of our Rotarians. We miss seeing each other, like all of the Rotarians. So that's the solution we have seen. I think it's just not holding the meeting, it's keeping the meeting fun. That's the critical piece. That's the way I see it. Because that's not only, our goal is not just to retain the members, our goal is to increase the membership. And increasing the membership is based on how good the meeting is, how fun the meeting is. So other than doing the service projects, we have to do the fun part. And the fun part can happen in the Zoom meeting as well as in person. We have been trying to normalize the Zoom meeting as much as possible, so to speak. There are certain things, of course, we were doing in person. Now we have started doing that again. We are using the, the different questions that can be asked, polling part, to ask the fine questions. And so I collect questions from members and just create 2-3 questions, and they are asked to the members, and they click the button. So that happens. We have done singing a couple of times. Obviously, singing in a group is just a complete chaos. That just doesn't happen. So one of our members who is a good singer, we had a recording of his singing and then presented that when we started the meeting. So as I think Josh said, that creativity and flexibility is the key. And so to speak, I think we are enjoying it. 4 months ago, 3 months ago, nobody knew what Zoom was. And I think people are kind of getting used to it, and I think they've started enjoying it.
Wonderful, Raj. Thanks for sharing.
Great. I have to toot my club's horn. Minneapolis City of Lakes has we are a singing club. I am not a singer. You would not want to hear me sing, but we have a group called the Rotary Rooters, and they sing at every meeting. And obviously they can't do that on Zoom well. So what they've done is they break up the song and each person unmutes and sings a stanza. And it works, or a line, and it works really, really well. So for those of you who want to sing on Zoom, as long as people remember to unmute and there isn't a long, uncomfortable pause for a stanza when somebody should have sang, it's really, really fun. So you might want to try it sometime. Okay, next question is about dues. Do clubs who do Zoom and hybrid charge people on Zoom the same membership price as people in person, because usually there's a meal involved?
Marlis, you want to start with that?
Sure. The way that Prior Lake Rotary's dues work is we actually have our standard dues, and then we have another set of dues for the meal. So I can honestly say what we have found is that a large portion of our people have backed out of the meal plan, but we still do have some of them on it. So we have separate dues, our normal Rotary, Prior Lake Rotary dues, and then we have a set of meal dues.
That's the same way. Terry was just looking at me. He's about 15 feet from me here. And he says that's what they're doing at Bloomington as well. Eden Prairie Morning has not gone back yet to hybrid, though the place where we had been meeting, it offered us that they took away the minimum. It would be a plated meal. We would just need to register in advance. So let's say that, in other words, we've just had our dues. We've eliminated the meal portion. We think that's fair to all concerned. And then if they scheduled is when we go back for a meal, the people that would go back, that would then be billed in their next set of dues.
Okay.
We did, by the way, increase our dues to help as a technology fee to help oversee both Zoom as well as the extra time that our administrator is doing.
And John, is there any questions in the room as well?
Do we want to involve anyone here in the room? You got a question, okay. Let's figure out a safe way to do this. Here we go. I'm going to put my mask on. See?
Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the VIP service. Thank you. This is Henry from the RCOP, which is the Rotary Club of Plymouth, West Metro for Minneapolis. I have visited the Edina Rotary Club. I know they meet like in a big luncheon, probably 25, 30 tables, almost 200 people met in the room. How they switch from transit from that this like dining event to a pure hybrid. I suppose no people eating, so that's a big change. So I just want to thoughts or think about that. Thank you.
Okay, sure. And Josh, maybe you can speak to that because that is, you know, your club is one of the Edina clubs meeting there.
You know, I want to come at this from a membership perspective too. I know that's not the topic, but you got to think about what is the attraction of Rotary. Yes, we promote for membership, but really it's attraction, not promotion. People come in that room, we create a certain vibe and certain culture, and that's why people want to be members. And so with the hybrid, I'm a little bit concerned right now about what happens to our membership. And I'll be curious to see after this first quarter how everyone on this call is doing. You know, we're focusing on just retention, trying to keep people with us as we go through this unprecedented experience, but some eye needs to be given to membership as well. So to answer your question, I think that we were in a hurry to try to get the in-person meeting back on track, even if it was just partial membership. And I think that over time, we have a prospective member day coming up in 2 weeks, so I'll let everyone know. But over time, we need to get back some of that normalcy in order to attract members and retain the ones we have. Actually, the hybrid seems to be working great. We're giving people what they want. I'm a little bit more concerned about, you know, is Zoom going to be a great recruitment tool? I'm not really sold on that. I think we have to also make the in-person meeting attractive to people. And the challenge for us is big because we have to do both. So my hats are off to all the leaders right now in 5950 trying to pull this off.
And I think just to add to that, you know, retention is a defense word. We're on defense with retention. We're on engagement is an offense word. And so Michael Hyatt says, you know, what does this make possible? And this makes possible new ways to engage and to be really proactive on that. Raj, take 1 minute, and then I've got an announcement here from Lloyd, and then we'll close this up. You inducted some members about 2 to 3 weeks ago. How many did you bring in, sir?
We brought in 3 new members that day.
All by Zoom?
All by Zoom. All by Zoom. We had their certificates printed. It just so happened that Tom Gump and Marianne and Lloyd were there that day, and we inducted them via Zoom. We just figured out a way to do it. We had the certificates printed. I shared those with the club, and then we mailed those to the members and their pins and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you. Making it possible. Bridget, Julie, any further questions or how will we follow up from here? Lloyd has an announcement before we close down. I'm just looking at the time.
if we haven't answered your question, we will go ahead and review the ones in the chat that didn't get answered, and then we'll make sure that we follow up with an email with those resources that I mentioned earlier, along with the answers to those questions. So thank you all for your questions, and we'll turn it back to you, John.
Okay, and Lloyd Campbell, you heard his name. He was here for the inspiration. He has an announcement for 5950 that he and the district governor Lyon have come up with.
Thank you. The announcement it's going to be very short. It's just simply that the Three Amigos, if you're not familiar with that, that's simply the DG Lyon, Tom, Mariana, and myself have decided that for the next to produce a grant that will give you free Zoom for the next 3 years. Details on that will be forthcoming, but trust me, it will be tied into membership. So look forward to that in the next day or so. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time, and we'll go ahead and post this to the district website as well as the link to the follow-up email. So thank you, and we look forward to going forward with hybrid and seeing what we learn in the coming weeks from other clubs as well.